So we are moving into IFRS 16 leasing. This is again another IFRS. The second IFRS, IFRS 5, IFRS 16, leasing. Anybody, don't have to type, anybody. When we studied IAS 16 property, plant and equipment, then what are the recognition principle that when we say that it is a property, plant and equipment and it will be recorded in the books as non-current assets. What are the conditions we discussed? Even in intangible assets also those conditions were there, certain extra. But for IAS 16 property, plant and equipment, what were the conditions?
Economic benefit.
Or?
When we are going to use in the business or for the rental purposes, for the rental to others. If it is going to generate economic benefit.
And control over the asset, that where I will be using the asset, ये करना है वो करना है मेरी मर्जी. Control आपके, your asset will be yours only when you will control the usage of the asset. क्या हमने ऐसा कोई पॉइंट पढ़ा था क्या कि IAS 16 में आपका ओनरशिप होना चाहिए? ऐसा कुछ पढ़ा था?
जरूरी नहीं सर, ओनरशिप होना चाहिए.
तो अगर IAS 16 में ओनरशिप नहीं होएगा तो हम एसेट को एसेट दिखाएंगे कैसे? सपोज ही तो कंट्रोल कैसे आएगा? यानी कि हम लोग ऐसा मन में अगर सोचते हैं कि विदाउट हैविंग ओनरशिप, स्टिल इफ यू विल बी गेटिंग द कंट्रोल ओवर द एसेट, विदाउट हैविंग ओनरशिप, स्टिल इफ यू विल बी हैविंग द कंट्रोल ओवर द एसेट, देन दिस वुड बी क्लासिफाइड एज नॉन करंट एसेट. क्या हम इस बात को मानते हैं? क्या लगता है?
Yes, sir.
बिकॉज एसेट में इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट होना चाहिए, बिजनेस एक्टिविटी में यूज होना चाहिए, ईयर आफ्टर ईयर यूज होना चाहिए. वी से दिस, द अकाउंटिंग इज नॉट स्पीकिंग अबाउट लीगैलिटी. अकाउंटिंग इज सब्सटेंस ओवर फॉर्म. लीगल चीज से मतलब नहीं है, लीगैलिटी से ऊपर जाना है. आप मान लीजिए ये प्रॉपर्टी का मैं ओनर हूं, तो मेरे पास रजिस्टर्ड डीड है जिसमें लिखा हुआ है सराफ एकेडमी इज द ओनर. लेकिन अकाउंट्स बोलता है कि ओनरशिप को हम लीगल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से चेक नहीं करते. अकाउंट्स इज बेस्ड ऑन सब्सटेंस, नॉट बेस्ड ऑन लीगैलिटी, विच इज अगेन अ बेसिक अकाउंटिंग प्रिंसिपल सिंस ईयर्स. जब से मैंने अकाउंट्स पढ़ना चालू किया, हम लोग जो थ्योरी वाला पोर्शन है अकाउंटिंग कॉन्सेप्ट से, ये सब पहले क्यों नहीं कर रहे? बिकॉज जब हम लोग यहां पर चैप्टर्स में समझ लेंगे तो वो कॉन्सेप्ट्स हम अपने आप समझ गए हैं, तो मेरे को बहुत कम टाइम लगेगा. इफ आई विल बी टीचिंग द अकाउंटिंग कॉन्सेप्ट्स एंड ऑल दैट इन द बिगिनिंग, सब्सटेंस ओवर फॉर्म, प्रूडेंस एंड ऑल दैट, देन मेरे को बोलने में बहुत तकलीफ होएगा. बट इफ द एंड आई विल बी डूइंग, आई विल बी एबल टू टीच दैट इन 15-20 minutes by giving the example of leasing, by giving the example of impairment, by giving the example of IFRS 5. Because all IFRS IAS has been developed based on those accounting principles, concepts only. But they are vague, they are written as a language. जब उनका एप्लीकेशन यहां ढूंढते हैं तो वो अपने आप समझ में आ जाता है. So, substance over form is an accounting concepts principle. On that principle, IFRS 16 has been developed. कि we are not concerned with legality of an asset. कि मैं इस कंप्यूटर का ओनर हूं कि नहीं, लैपटॉप का ओनर, कैमरा का ओनर हूं कि नहीं, मेरे पास परचेज बिल है कि नहीं, जरूरी नहीं है. मेरे पास कंट्रोल है, इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट मिलेगा और मैं इसको ईयर आफ्टर ईयर यूज करूंगा. सो दे आर नॉट टेकिंग इट अंडर IAS 16. They are taking it as a non-current asset only, but it is coming under IFRS 16. 16. IAS 16, IFRS 16. This is called lease. You want to say lease, hire, purchase, जो नाम आपको देना है. हम लोग कोई टेक्निकल नाम माने synonyms we are not discussing. Whether it's a lease, whether it's a hire, purchase, whatever. Technically, law wise अगर बात करें, in hire purchase, at the end of the payment of installment, you will become owner. But in lease, at the end of the lease term, whether you will become owner or not, we don't know. That is not a criteria. So normally, if I purchase something on installment payment basis or hire purchase basis, Once I make the entire payment, I will become owner. But in case of lease, whether after making the entire payment I will become owner or not, that depends upon agreement. That is called legal lease and hire purchase difference. But here, there is no difference between hire purchase and leasing. We are saying that I am getting an asset, computer, laptop, camera, building, plant, machinery, anything. I am getting an asset for use. I will be using the asset year after year for my business activity. And I will be generating economic benefit the way I am generating from the ownership assets. I will be controlling the asset where I want to use and all that. And I will be paying the amount to the person who is the owner as per the lease agreement, whatever is decided between. घर भाड़े पे लेते हैं बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट, मान लीजिए कहीं जॉब में गए, वहां पर घर भाड़े पे लिए, आपने 3 साल का एग्रीमेंट किया कि यू विल बी स्टेइंग इन द हाउस फॉर 3 years. कुछ भी आप कोई भी एग्जांपल ले लीजिए, किसी के पास भी अगर पैसे नहीं है, इफ यू डोंट हैव द मनी टू परचेज द एसेट, द अदर ऑप्शन इज टू टेक द एसेट ऑन लीज. लीज के अंदर आफ्टर द लीज टर्म इज ओवर, वेदर यू विल बिकम ओनर और नॉट, दैट विल बी रिटन इन द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. बट आप एसेट को अपने जो भी पर्पस है उसमें यूज करोगे, मर्जी आपकी होगी कैसे यूज करना है. दैट्स फुल कंट्रोल गिवन टू यू. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एसेट्स विच आर यूज्ड इन बिजनेस एक्टिविटी, नॉट दैट कहीं आप जॉब करने गए, आपने घर भाड़े पे लिया, दैट इज पर्सनल यूज. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग दैट. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट बिजनेस यूज. एनी एसेट, लैंड, बिल्डिंग, प्लांट, मशीनरी, फर्नीचर, फिक्सचर, कंप्यूटर, लैपटॉप, एनी इंटेंजिबल एसेट, एनीथिंग, किसी की भी बात कर रहे हैं हम, बट ओनरशिप नहीं. We have the right to use the asset continuously year after year, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years, whatever the agreement. And for that we will be paying to the other person the amount in installments. We will be paying the amount in installment. Installment मतलब हर साल के एंड में, हर साल के बिगिनिंग में, हर 6 महीने बाद, हर 1 monthly basis. क्या होगा पता नहीं. That is agreement. एग्रीमेंट में लिखा रहेगा और दोनों आदमी ये एग्रीमेंट में गए. The person who is the owner of the asset giving me this right to use the asset against the gradual payment, that person is called the lessor. I am the person who is going to use the asset for my business activities, and against that I may be paying the amount to the lessor. I am the lessee. And between both of us, there is a lease agreement. The clauses of the agreement. Prakash Saraf, son of Shyam Sundar Saraf, residing here, that is legal language. वो मेरे को भी नहीं आता, वो लॉयर ही लिखता है. कोई भी काम करते हैं तो लीगल पर्सन के पास जाते हैं, बिकॉज दे हैव द फॉर्मेट, दे हैव द एक्सपर्टीज इन द लीगल एरिया. वी आर नॉट द लीगल पर्सन, बट फिर भी एग्रीमेंट एक लीगल पर्सन स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वगैरह देकर बनाया जाता है. दैट वी अंडरस्टैंड इन प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ. IFRS is saying that, accounting is saying that you will record that also as an asset, as a part of non-current asset, not as IAS 16, but as IFRS 16. You will record that as an asset, as a part of non-current asset. But you will not be writing property, computer. You will be writing right to use asset. Right to use the asset. Suppose I have taken this computer on lease. Then I will be writing right to use computer. That language will give the feeling that organization is not the owner, but they have the right to use this asset. The question arises, value. What will be the value? If I am purchasing a computer, maybe I will pay after 2 months, credit purchase, bill is there, invoice is there, I will record that. IAS 16. But yahan, what value? Whatever I will pay to the lessor, that will be the value. But then since the first class we are discussing what? In accounts also we need to consider a time value of money if the cash flows are going to arise after 1 year. Whether in IAS 36 impairment, value in use, present value, whether in IAS 16 dismantling expenditures going to be incurred after 20 years, present value, सब जगह जितना पूरा का पूरा अकाउंट्स है, सब जगह टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी सोचना है if the cash flow are going to arise beyond 1 year. So here also, what we are going to pay to the lessor for use of the asset, not now, in installments. We will pay in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. the present value of those payments. For calculating present value in account exam, the discounting factor will be given to you in the question. Maybe in some of the question in the book or in the notes, the discounting factor not given. We are doing calculation exam में कुछ नहीं करना है, कभी नहीं आता है. In CA final, in CA inter, in CMA final, accounts exam is not a finance exam. Even though we always study finance, accounts, management, सब अलग अलग पढ़ते हैं, बट अकाउंट्स एग्जाम में आपका टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी का नॉलेज नहीं. बस इतना सोचना है, $100 टुडे एंड $100 आफ्टर 5 years इज नॉट सेम. $100 आफ्टर 5 years टुडे इज वेरी लेस. उसका प्रेजेंट वैल्यू लाने के लिए रेट विल बी गिवन, फिगर विल बी गिवन, यू जस्ट कैलकुलेट. तो आप जो लीज रेंट पे करोगे एज अ लेजी, वट एवर लीज रेंट यू विल पे, आपको उसका प्रेजेंट वैल्यू लेकर आना है. इन मेनी क्वेश्चंस प्रेजेंट वैल्यू डायरेक्टली गिवन. That will be the value of the asset. But then whatever you will pay to the lessee, that only cannot be treated as the asset value. Suppose I purchased a machine. Whatever I will pay to the lessor, present value of that is the value of the machine. But then to install the machine, I am incurring some installation expenditures. To bring the machine at my place, I paid some carriage inward. And maybe there is some dismantling or any other expenditure. The way we have discussed in IAS 16 also. आपका और भी खर्चा हो सकता है, केवल लेसर को जो पे करना है वो नहीं है. The asset will be usable when you incur all those expenditures. Then only the asset will become usable. तो आपको वो सारे खर्चे जोड़ने हैं which will be treated as right to use asset. Present value will be calculated for lease payments, for any other dismantling or anything also. लेकिन उसके अलावा if there is any installation charges, any carriage inward, कुछ भी, वो भी सब जोड़ना है, then it will become right to use asset. So everything is same. In IAS 16, you are going to pay to the supplier. Here, you are going to pay to the lessor. In IAS 16, you were the owner. Here, you were not the owner. But the accounting is not based on legality, substance over form. You have the right to use the asset for a certain period. You will record the asset as a non-current asset only. And then you will be doing depreciation. The way you were doing depreciation. The asset value, present value of lease payments, other expenditures, total asset value, say 1 lakh. You will be charging depreciation on right to use it at 1 lakh. What method? Straight line, WDV, doom, dam, whatever. Whatever method. But then the period. Suppose I am getting the right to use this computer 2 years. But the life of the computer is 5 years. But I am going to use for 2 years. I will charge a depreciation for 2 years. Suppose it is written in the lease agreement that after 2 years, I will become owner by paying this amount. In the agreement it is written. And I have decided in my brain, in my mind, that I will do that. After 2 years, I will make that payment and I will become owner. That means I will be using the asset for 5 years. Now Ajit or anybody will say, sir, अगर नहीं लिए तो, सर आप आज खड़े हैं, आज ही को सोचिए ना सर, कल क्या होगा, हम लोग जिंदा कोई भी रहेंगे कि नहीं, भूकंप आ जाए, क्या करें यार, आज क्या सोच रहे हैं. हमको 2 साल बाद एसेट बहुत कम दाम में मिलने वाला है. हमने माइंड में डिसाइड कर लिया कि हम 2 साल बाद वी विल बी टेकिंग द एसेट, सो वी विल रिकॉर्ड फॉर 2 years lease term, but we depreciate in 5 years. We will depreciate in 5 years. Because even though lease term is 2 years, but I have decided that after 2 years I will get the asset by paying this amount. In the asset value, that also will be added. Whatever you will pay for 2 years present value, whatever you will pay at the end of 2 years to purchase the asset, all will be added present value. And I will depreciate for 5 years. So if the ownership clause is there, then the asset life. But if the ownership clause is not there, or maybe there I am not going to exercise, then the asset's life or lease term, whichever is lower, that will be the basis for depreciation. The method of depreciation, nowhere in accounting written in straight line, it's upon you. But I said many times in the classes, everybody in the industry is doing the depreciation like this. I cannot have a different method than what others are following. दुनिया में सब बेवकूफ है, मैं ही डेढ़ होशियार हूं, ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. जो दुनिया में लोग कर रहे हैं आपको वही करना होगा. So it's the depreciation method. Maybe we can say there is no law, But what the industry is following the principle, you need to follow the same principle. Unless and until you have logic justification that I will not follow that because of this. ठीक है भाई, बात अलग है. But आप केवल ये लॉजिक लोगे, मैं बहुत अच्छे से रखता हूं, आई एम पुटिंग दिस माई हेडफोन वेरी प्रॉपरली एज कंपेयर टू अदर्स. दूसरे लोगों का 1-2 साल में खराब होता है, मेरा 7 साल में खराब होता है. नहीं अलाउड है ये सब. बिकॉज देयर इज नॉर्मल वियर एंड टीयर. ये सब बात फिर तो somebody will say that there is no depreciation. I kept the asset fantastic way. डेली हम किस करके एसेट को रखते हैं उससे थोड़ी ना मतलब है. That way the logic cannot be given. So we say that maybe the accounting is silent what method you will follow. But in the practical world अलग अलग मेथड नहीं अलाउड है. और कंपनी लॉ के अंदर तो हर एसेट्स के ऊपर रेट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन इज मेंशन्ड. आपको वही लगाना है. इनकम टैक्स में रेट इज मेंशन्ड. तो अकाउंट्स में भी ऐसे ओपन एंडेड है, बट इट इज नॉट लाइक दैट. नाउ when you are recording the asset, how the balance sheet will tally? You are recording something in the asset side, and if you don't record something in the liability side, balance sheet will not tally. So whatever you will pay to the lessor, not now, you will pay. You think that now you are taking a loan and then you are purchasing the asset and you will repay the loan along with interest in future. That's the simple thing. Leasing is what? Simple thing that. In place of going to bank, we are going to the person who is making the asset. We are taking on lease and we are telling him we will pay him in installments. That to वही बात है. So leasing is debt. Leasing is debt. So whatever amount you will pay to the lessor in future, present value of that will be your liability in the liability side. That is lease liability. Now whether it will be a non-current or current liability. It will be a non-current if it is payable beyond 1 year. It will be a current liability if it is payable within 1 year. That's the simple concept, not leasing normal. Normally in case of leasing, we will be paying to the lessor gradually, every year. So whatever we will pay to the lessor within 1 year, that will be current liability. And whatever we will pay to the lessor beyond 1 year will be non-current liability. So in a statement of financial position balance sheet, the lease liability will be coming under both the headings. Non-current, current. Non-current, if I am preparing for March 2022, the non-current which is payable beyond March 2023, whatever is payable within March 2023 will be current liability. Both are lease liability. But the accounting says that anything payable within 1 year is a current liability. Anything payable beyond 1 year is a non-current liability. Suppose just an hypothetical example. I have taken an asset on lease for 5 years. I will pay to the lessor 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 for 5 years. Why I am taking such example? 10,000 calculation we can do from mouth. Calculate. So apply your brain. Don't go into calculation. 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 we will pay in 5 years every year, at the end of every year. The present value need to be calculated, say at the rate of 10%. Why 10%? We are saying that suppose if this asset I will not be taking on lease and I will be purchasing from the market, then I need to pay say 35,000. This asset life is 5 years, but I am taking on lease. So I will be paying 10, 10, 10 for 5 years in place of 35 because I don't have money. Otherwise, why I will be paying 50,000? No. So we can say that 35,000 is the value today. I am going to pay 10, 10, 10, 10 for 5 years. That means actually I am paying some interest rate for every year. That interest rate is the rate by which I will calculate present value. That is called interest rate inherent in the lease transaction. Interest rate inherent in the lease transaction. But suppose there are many assets in the market for which we don't know the value today. Abhi uska value 35 we don't know. Then how we will correlate 35 and 50,000 to find out interest rate? We can't. Then in that case we say that if I am the person who is taking this asset on lease, if I will borrow money from banks, my credit worthiness, my capacity and all that, what is the rate which the bankers will be charging for the loan? Suppose the bankers will be charging 10% interest rate. So I will be calculating present value at the rate of 10%. So the accounting says that the interest rate to calculate present value will be the interest rate which is inherent in the lease, or it is the borrowing rate for the lessee. Borrowing rate for the lessee from the banker. Interest rate inherent in the lease means the value of assets today, the amount which you will pay, you will correlate that and the interest rate. IRR calculation. Or if the value of the asset today we don't know, it is a different type of asset, market not available and all that, then in that case, whatever the borrowing rate will be applicable for me, if I will borrow from bank, that will be the rate for calculating present value. There is no question in the exam to say explanation about this interest rate, but just for understanding purpose. Because in practical life, you will say, sir ने तो बता दिया, कैसे लाएं, interest rate कहां से लाएं, वहीं से आएगा भाई. जो आप practical में करोगे, वही accounts बता रहा है. So I am saying that 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 I will pay for 5 years. Present value at the rate of 10% is coming 35,000. And there is no other incidental expenditure, installation, nothing. So I am saying the asset value, right to use asset in the asset side, 35. And in the liability side, lease liability will be 35,000. Both are same. The journal entry will be assets account debit 35,000, lease liability credit 35. You can say you are purchasing an asset on credit. Bas, itna hi hai. You are writing the asset, right to use asset. Now 35,000 will be depreciated in 5 years. Straight line, WDV, whatever. The 35,000 liability will be settled in 5 years. Along with interest, you need to pay 10, 10, 10. 35,000. First year interest 10%, 3,500. So becomes 38,500. And at the end of first year, I will pay first installment 10,000. So out of 38,500, 10,000 gone. Balance left 28,500. Second year interest on 28,500, 10%. 28,500 plus 10% of 28,500, 2850. Second year and again I will pay 10,000. Third year interest again. Every year interest is different because every year I am paying the 10,000 which includes interest and the principal. So every year, this is called amortization schedule. Whenever you borrow from banks, if you are working in finance field and all that, कोई भी client है तो उसको हम लोग ये schedule बना कर देते हैं. भाई आपको ऐसे ऐसे पैसे देने हैं, इसमें ये interest portion है, ये principal portion है. So which is amortization schedule. So this 35,000 which is a liability will be there in the balance sheet till 5 years. 5 years. But it will be divided in two parts. Current, non-current. Current part which is payable within 1 year. Non-current part which is payable beyond 1 year. Now suppose I am standing on 1st April 2022. 31st March 2022. I took the asset on 31st March 2022. That means now after 1 year, I am standing at 31st March 2023. When I purchased the asset on 1st April or 31st March, I recorded 35,000 right to use asset and I recorded lease liability 35,000. That time also I need to break. But suppose I mean to say that now I am standing on 31st March 2023. 22 gone. So in 23, I have already done payment of one installment. 35,000 plus 3,500 minus 10,000. The value left is what? 28,500. Now after 23 to 24, I will pay how much? 10,000. In 23 to 24, what will be the interest? 28,500 into 10%, 2,850. Please understand everybody. Please understand here. If I am not talking about lease, I am taking loan from bank today. Suppose I am taking borrowing money from bank. 1 crore at the rate of interest rate 10%. And I will repay the loan to the banker after 5 years. Term loan. It's a term loan for 5 years. No in-between payment. I will pay after 5 years. So I have taken loan today 1 crore and I will repay after 5 years. For every year I need to pay interest at the rate of 10%. But I will pay after 5 years. So 1 crore, 10%, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, 10 lakh. So after 5 years, I will pay 1.5 crore. 1 crore plus 50 lakh, 1 crore 50 lakh. I will pay. Today I am taking loan of 1 crore. I will record a liability of 1 crore or I will record a liability of 1.5 crore. Today I am taking a loan of 1 crore. So I will record in the balance sheet liability 1 crore or I will record 1.5 crore because I need to pay the interest of 5 years. निसार जी बहुत खराब बात है यार. We prepare accounts on accrual principle. Accrual principle means what? When the expenditure becomes due and it is not paid, then in that case it is recorded in the books of account. Because we don't follow cash principle, accrual. आप अगर लोन लोगे और 10 साल बाद चुकाना है, 10 साल का इंटरेस्ट आज ही खर्चा कैसे दिखा दोगे? Interest will be recorded as an expense at the end of every year. First you have taken a loan of 1 crore, you will record 1 crore. First year interest 10 lakh, you will debit in PL account, not paid. So including interest, your loan value becomes 1.1 crore. Second year you will again record interest of 10 lakh. And second year it will become 1.2 crore. यही तो होता है ना. नहीं तो दुनिया में क्या कैसे रिकॉर्ड करेंगे यार? हो सकता है I will repay the loan earlier by paying some penalty. We cannot record the interest which will be payable in future now. Maybe I am not paying, but it need to accrue. तो 28,500 जो मैं लीज का एग्जांपल दे रहा था is the due amount at the end of first year. 28,500 is the due amount at the end of first year. On that interest 2850 will be of the second year. That interest cannot become a liability at March 23. Interest liability नहीं बनेगा. Interest will become liability if I will not pay on March 23. तब 24. Otherwise not. 28,500 is my liability after 1 year. In the next year 2850 will be the interest. In the next year 10,000 I will pay. So in the next year what will be the balance left? 28,500 plus 2850 minus 10,000. In the next year the balance of loan will be 28,500 plus 2850 minus 10,000, which will be coming how much? 28,500 plus 2850 minus 10,000 will be how much? 28,500 plus 2850 minus 10,000 will be how much? Please anybody, if you are using the calculator. 21,350 out of 28,500, 21,350 will remain due after 1 year. I am standing at March 23. March 23 my outstanding total is 28,500. But out of 28,500, 21,350 will remain outstanding even after 1 year. So can we say that this 21,350 we will pay after March 24? Can we say that we will pay this 21,350 after March 24? So on March 23, this 21,350 becomes non-current. Out of 28,500, 21,350 becomes non-current and the balance becomes current. Many of you are not getting. I know. Don't have to ask. Wait for some time. धीरे धीरे. इतना जल्दी होता तो इतना easy. You will say that, sir, why you are giving example here? I need to give example 2 times, 3 times, again and again I need to say, then only you will be able to digest. Those who digested very well, those who couldn't digest, you need to give me time. With further examples I will be saying. Just again the example which I took, 35,000. 35,000 after 1 year becomes 28,500. 35,000 plus 3,500 minus 10,000, 28,500. So after 1 year, the liability in the balance sheet should be 28,500. But 28,500 will be broken down into 2 parts. Payable within 1 year, payable beyond 1 year. This 21,350 is payable after 1 year still. 28,500 plus 2850 minus 10,000. After 1 year, your liability will be 21,350. So that 21,350 you will pay after 1 year, second, third and all year. So out of 28,500, 21,350 becomes non-current and the balance becomes current. इफ यू आर गेटिंग वेरी वेल, नॉट गेटिंग, डोंट टेक टेंशन, मेरा ही रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है आपको क्लास खत्म होने के पहले आपके दिमाग में घुसा देना, दिल में बसा देना, डोंट वरी, बट डोंट रेज क्वेश्चन सर कैन यू से अगेन। अब इस एग्जाम्पल से होएगा नहीं, अब थोड़ा दिखा के ही बताना होएगा, otherwise you will not be able to understand. A lease is a contract that conveys the right to use an underlying asset for a period of time in exchange for consideration. The lessor is the entity that provides the right to use an underlying asset, and the lessee is the entity that obtains the right to use the asset. A right to use asset represents a lease right to use an underlying asset for the lease term. These are all comma full stop taken from IFRS 16 paragraph. That means nobody can remember comma full stop. If you try to remember, you are going in wrong direction. आपको अपने लैंग्वेज में लीज एग्रीमेंट, लेसर, लेसी क्या होता है लिखना आना चाहिए, जो आप प्रैक्टिस करेंगे हो जाएगा. At inception of the recognition, at inception, when we are going for a lease contract, what will be the lease liability, what will be the right to use asset? Lease liability will be, right to use asset will be whatever you will pay to the lessor, present value of that plus all other payments. All other payments may be installation cost, may be dismantling cost, uska present value, what we discussed in IAS 16. Lease liability will be whatever you will pay to the lessor. Fixed payment, amount expected to be paid under residual guarantee. Residual guarantee means, suppose I am taking this computer for 2 years. The life of the computer is 5 years, but I am taking this computer on lease for 2 years. And after 2 years, I am giving guarantee that the value of computer will not be lower than 50,000. So, if the value of computer after 2 years will be lower than 50,000, whatever the decrease in value I will be giving you. If suppose after 2 years the value is laddu, I will be giving you full 50,000. So whatever guarantee, because I am not the owner, I am using the asset. If I don't maintain the asset properly, and there is a clause that once the lease term is over, this should be the value, then वो भी मेरे को उनको पे करना है. Option to purchase that asset. If there is a clause that after 2 years I can become owner by paying this amount, then that also will be the present. You will say that, sir, if you decide that you will be purchasing, decide means you expect, then you add. If you decided that I will never purchase, don't add, but present value only. Terminal penalties if lease term reflects है. आपने अगर कोई प्रॉपर्टी घर वगैरह भाड़े पे लिया है, 1 साल 2 साल के लिए कहीं पर गए, एज अ स्टूडेंट, एज वर्किंग समवेयर, तो लैंडलॉर्ड बहुत सारा क्लॉज लगाता है, ये होना चाहिए, वो होना चाहिए, और बाद में गड़बड़ी करने से वो आपका डिपॉजिट आपको वापस नहीं देगा. वैसे ही बात कर रहे हैं. टर्मिनेशन पेनल्टीज इफ लीज टर्म रिफ्लेक्ट्स एक्सपेक्टेशन. एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि वो पेनल्टीज वगैरह लगेगी, वो भी एग्जाम में इन सब के बारे में कुछ नहीं देता है. ऑप्शन दिस दैट, दे जस्ट गिव यू फिक्स पेमेंट्स, यू कैलकुलेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू. बट इन प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ ऑल दीज विल बी कमिंग, बिकॉज द लीज एग्रीमेंट्स आर नॉट सिंपल, दे आर वेरी cumbersome. And as a businessman, as a finance manager in SEMA case study, we need to understand that whenever we enter into contract, we need to look that in the contract we should incorporate all the clauses which will be beneficial for us, which will not be adversely affecting us. Then only you can say that you are a finance manager, you can manage the business affairs, not accounting, non-accounting also. For FR purpose, it is likely that lease liability will simply comprise fixed payments, and that the value of right to use asset will be equal to that. But I am not giving guarantee. Generally they have written that FR IFRS में कुछ वो लोग देंगे नहीं, बट दे तो भी हम लोग बात किए हैं. अब ये एग्जाम्पल से you will be able to understand what I was saying 1 year, 2 year and all that. Another example. On 1st January 2011, Dynamic entered into a 2-year lease for a lorry. 2-year lorry lease contract. Lorry will be on lease for 2 years. 1st January, year beginning. The contract contains an option to extend the lease for a further year. In the lease agreement, it is written that after 2 years, we can use the lorry for further 1 year. Extend the contract for further 1 year. Dynamic believes that it is reasonably certain to exercise this option. The company Dynamic believes that after 2 years, it is very much sure that they will be going for further 1 year lease also. Now reasonably certain means mota moti. ब्रह्मा जी तो आके बताएंगे नहीं, तो आपको इस क्वेश्चन में ये सोचना होगा द लीज इज ऑफ 3 years, नॉट 2 years. If they will say that reasonably certain that we will not carry forward for 1 year, तो 2 साल सोचना है. प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में ऐसे लैंग्वेज थोड़ी ना सामने दिख रहा है. लॉरीज हैव अ यूजफुल लाइफ ऑफ 10 years. दैट मीन्स द लाइफ इज नॉट 2 or 3 years. द एसेट लाइफ इज 10 years. We are going to use for 3 years. Lease payments are 10,000 per year for the initial term. First year, second year, 10,000 per year. And 15,000 per year for the optional period. For the third year, we will pay 15,000. All payments are due at the end of the year. To obtain the lease, dynamic incurred, indirect, direct cost of 3,000. What is direct cost? I don't know. But they will not be able to have the leasing agreement possible, have the asset possible, if they don't incur 3,000 expenditures. Maybe agreement बनाने के लिए कोई lawyer को पैसा दिया. We discussed in IAS 16. Till the time the asset is not with you, it is not usable. All the expenditure is a part of the asset. For lease agreement, there is a lawyer, there is a legal person, and we took his help for drafting the agreement and all that. तो लीज में जा ही नहीं पाते अगर हम ये नहीं करते. So this will be the cost of the asset. You are not paying to lesser, but this will be the cost of the asset. Dynamic rate of borrowing is 5%, or maybe installation expenditure, कुछ भी समझ लीजिए आप. Dynamic rate of borrowing 5%. That means present value will be calculated by 5%. Calculate the initial carrying amount of the lease liability and the right to use asset, and provide the double entries needed to record these amounts in dynamic financial statement. So they are asking what will be the initial carrying amount of the lease liability, that is on 1st January, and the right to use asset value, and the journal entries, provide double entries needed to record those amounts in the financial statement. That means they are standing just when you took the lease, not going forward, at the inception. Now we are saying that here the lease term is 3 years, not 2 years, because 1 year we are reasonably certain. So what we need to pay to the lessor? 10,000 for 2 years and 15,000 for third year. We will calculate present value at the rate of 5%. For calculating present value in exam, CIMA exam, FR exam, IFRS exam, present value table will be given. That table also not. In the question also they print the discounting factor. But if not print, you will go in the present value table. They will write 1 year discounting factor at the rate of 5%, 2 year factor. You will multiply first 10,000 with first year factor, second 10,000 with second year factor, third 15,000 with third year factor. You will get the present value. 10, 10, 20 plus 15, 35. Present value say coming 28,000. Say hypothetically. So your present value is coming 28,000. You will say lease liability will be 28,000. But the asset value will be 28 plus 3,000. The other incidental expenditure, direct expenditure, so that we can use the asset. So 28 plus 3, 31,000 will be the asset value. What will be the journal entry? Right to use asset account debit. Lease liability credit 28,000. Right to use asset account debit 3,000. Cash account credit 3,000, because you paid 3,000 so that you can use the asset. You can combine the entry. Right to use the asset account debit 31,000, 28 and 3. Lease liability credit 28,000. Cash account credit 3,000. Logic: whatever you are getting, assets are debited, liabilities are credited, and when the assets are going, they will be credited. Cash is going, that is credited. उतना ज्यादा अकाउंटिंग कॉन्सेप्ट डेबिट क्रेडिट ये सब में नहीं जाना है, कोई यूज ही नहीं है एग्जाम में. यू आर स्टडिंग हायर लेवल ऑफ अकाउंटिंग. डेबिट क्रेडिट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, दैट इज फॉर बच्चास. But I mean to say that simple understanding, you are getting asset, you are giving cash, and there is a liability that you will record. Here some extra calculations are done because discounting factor is not given. 1 by 1.05 discounting factor will be given in exam. 1 by, like suppose, Suppose in study text and everywhere in the exam paper also, there is a separate area where they give the discounting factor. इधर तो नहीं दिया यार. Here they have given. Whether they have given here. मेरे ख्याल से in financial reporting the table is not given. Not given means in the book. In the exam it will be given. Exam में when we go ACCA global.com, you can go in SEMA paper also. Study support resources. Either you go in IFRS or you go in ACCA qualification, doesn't matter. I'm just for the time being going in IFRS. IFRS में गए. In IFRS past exams, in past exams the papers, this is answer, this is question paper. The paper will be online, this is PDF. No, this is online only. Very good, sir. But this is only one paper which is online for IFRS. For FR, there are many papers online. These are all the instructions. They are saying you want to start. I am saying yes, I want to start. अब यहां पर मेरे को नहीं मालूम है बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट द एग्जैक्ट, बिकॉज हेल्प में इफ दे हैव रिटन वेरी वेल, अदरवाइज ऑलवेज द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू टेबल विल बी हियर. यहां उन्होंने दिया है क्या? नहीं है यहां पर, बट इन एग्जाम इट विल बी ऑलवेज देयर. व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस? यू सिंपली अंडरस्टैंड इफ यू गो हियर फॉर से December question paper. Now it will be opening. No, it is still opening that way. Because the actual paper, which is PDF paper, right here, there are many papers which are in IFRS also opening like. Now this is PDF. ठीक है? The actual question paper is this. And in this paper, the actual question paper always, they will give you the table. दे नहीं रहा है, यहां पर टेबल उड़ा दिया गया है. बट इन ऑल द एग्जाम्स द टेबल्स आर देयर ऑलवेज. इवन नाउ अ डेज तो इन सीए एग्जाम्स ऑल्सो दे गिव द टेबल. एक और पुराना खोल रहा हूं मैं, मे बी इन दैट इट इज गिवन. बट नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. आई एम दैट इज सेइंग कि मान लीजिए आप बोलेंगे सर हम कैलकुलेटर में करना नहीं है सर. Not required. And in SEMA, SOMEN, not at all required. There is no use of calculator in exam. So there is no requirement here. Maybe somebody has finance knowledge because we studied FM and all that. That's other thing. Or maybe in the, लेकिन जरूरत नहीं है. ये ऐसे ये क्वेश्चन में सॉल्व किया हुआ है. You will be given the discounting factor 10,000 into this, 10,000 into this, 15,000 into this. Or generally this factor is given in the question. In exam सीधा ये दे देता है. ठीक है? जो भी है, इट विल बी गिवन. यू डोंट हैव टू डू दिस मच. नोबडी, एफआर, आईएफआरएस एंड सीमा की स्टडी, नोबडी नीड टू रिक्वायर टू डू दिस. यहां पर थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा कैलकुलेशंस किया हुआ है. एंड देन द एसेट वैल्यू इज प्लस 3,000. सो द वैल्यू इज एसेट अकाउंट डेबिट विच इज इंक्लूडिंग 3,000. दैट यू कैन डू टुगेदर एंट्री 31 प्लस 3, 34, 552. लीज लाइबिलिटीज 31 एंड द कैश इज 3,000. Here I am not saying about lease liability breakup. Here it's just a basic example that is saying that the lease liability will be there. But in this example I am saying lease liability need to be broken down into current and non-current. Here it is written right to use asset need to be depreciated based on the estimated life and all that. It is written if the life is 5 years, but you are going to use for, like in the previous example, the life of lorry was 10 years, but you are going for lease term 3 years. You will depreciate in 3 years. Because your assets, right to use asset is only for 3 years. So if you don't have the ownership, then during the life, lease term. But if you have the ownership later on, then lease term or life of the asset, whichever is higher. Lower, sorry. Because if the lease term is lower and all, then you will follow that. Short life and low life. This I will be coming later. First of all, I need to explain non-current, current part. So this way we will be able to understand. In this, whatever is given, that I am discussing. But along with that, we will be changing figures also. On 1st April 2017, SEMA entered into an agreement to lease an item of equipment. The lease required 4 annual payments in advance. Now here the payment are not at the end of the year. Here the payment are in advance each commencing year. We took the assets on 1st April and we are going to make payment first, lease payments on 1st April only. Every payment in advance. The equipment has a useful life of 4 years and will be scrapped at the end of lease period. So life of asset 4 year, lease term 4 year, after 4 year there is no value of this asset. Scrapped. In the previous example, lorry 10-year life, but the lease term was 3 year. Here both are same. That means entire life of asset lessee will be using. The present value of the total lease payments, now the figure is given. You don't have to calculate. 2,15,000, 2,15,000, 2,15,000, 4 times. Present value of that is 7,50,000 at the rate of 10%. Please understand here the first 2,15,000 is already present value. The first 2,15,000 you are paying now. You need to calculate present value of only 2,15,000. But all calculated and given 750. The question comes in exam like this only. At the rate of 10%. Why 10% is given? So that you will be able to record interest and all that. How will this be reflected in the financial statement for first year end? That means at the end of first year, March 2018, first year, and how we will be recording. First of all, please, now whether you make the columns like this or not essential. If objective type question for FR, not required, you do calculation in. If FR, it is a part C question or in IFRS question, whether you make the column like this or not, it's upon you. Normally, I like that we should be making column like this. First column should be date, period. Second column is balance. Third column payment. Fourth column net. Fifth column interest. Second column balance. I generally don't like this net. I like date, period, balance, payment, interest and balance. You can make this net, but I generally don't make. Here we are saying that on 31st March 2018, we took the assets on lease on 1st April 2017. 1st April 2017, the balance was 7,50,000. And at the end of the year, before making any payment or anything, this is 7,50,000 is the value on, 7,50,000 is the value on 1st April. But on 1st April, we paid 2,15,000 because in advance. So on 1st April, the value is 535. And this 535 is the value at the end of the year due without interest. 535 is the value due with it. This is due at the beginning of the year because 1st April only the value this. 1st April only we paid. This is 1st April value. But the 1st April value need to be taken to 31st March value. 1 year interest at the rate of 10%. This is the first year interest. Now Nisar, whether we have paid this interest 53,500. Nisar, whether we have paid this interest 53,500 in March 2018, whether this interest of 53,500 paid, it is not paid. But this 53,500 will become liability because it is accrued for the year. For the year 1st April 17 to March 18, this interest not paid, but it is accrued. When you will pay this interest? In the next year first day. When you are making payment 2,15,000, 53,500 is the interest and the balance is the principal. 53,500 is the interest portion you were. 31st March you are not paying, you are paying on 1st April. So this 53,500 you will pay next day only. 2,15,000 में 53,500 in the interest. Balance is the principal. So 5,88,500 includes this interest, closing balance, opening balance. 2,15,000 you paid including interest, the closing balance is this. This is what? This is 1st April 2019 balance. 1st April 19 you paid this, 1st April 19 this is. This 373 does not include interest because the interest is included but it is paid. This 3,73,500 is after paying interest of first year. What is the amount due? Now in this year 2019 again there will be interest 10%. The closing balance will be 373,500 plus 37,350 will be the closing balance. But that interest which will be coming here will be the second year interest. The second year interest, if not paid in the second year, will be coming as liability in second year. But the second year interest cannot become liability in the first year. Interest will be shown as a liability. Interest will be accounted for when it accrue. When the year is over. Second year is not over. You are standing at March 18. At March 18, the total liability is this. So in the balance sheet, we need to show the total liability including the interest accrue. But this 5,88,500 we need to break down into two parts. Out of 5,88,500, whatever we will pay within 1 year is a current liability. And out of 5,88,500, whatever we will pay beyond 1 year will become non-current liability. Out of 5,88,500, 2,15,000 we will pay in the next day only within 1 year. And the balance 3,73,500 we will pay beyond 1 year. So this 373,500 will be non-current and this 2,15,000 will be current. There is no doubt for the time being, just wait. Suppose the payment are at the end of the year only. At the end of the year only. Okay? In the example it is written beginning, advance. I am saying at the end of the year only. And assume present value is still 7,50,000. Actually, it will be lower. Because the present value, if you are paying in advance the first one, there is no present value. But if you pay at the end of the year, it will be present value further. So value will be lower. But just for understanding, I am saying is still 7,50,000. Now I am saying period. Outstanding interest, outstanding, and then interest, and then payment, and then closing balance. Closing balance. So period we are talking first year. First year initial outstanding 7,50,000. Now I am not making payment in the beginning. I will pay at the end. So interest at the rate of 10%, 75,000 for the first year. And I am making payment 2,15,000. The first year interest I paid in the first year. 75,000 I paid in the first year. 2,15,000 whatever I am paying is including 75. So what is my closing balance? 75,000 plus 7,50,000 minus 2,15,000. What will be my closing balance? 7,50,000 plus 75,000 minus 2,15,000. 6,10,000. 6,10,000 is my closing balance. Second year 6,10,000 is my opening balance. Second year interest 10%, 61,000. Second year again at the end of the year I will pay 2,15,000. So what will be my closing balance? 6,10,000 plus 61 minus 2,15,000, 4,56,000. Please understand that in the previous example 5,88,000 includes first year interest because that is not paid. But in this example 6,10,000 does not include first year interest because it is paid. You will record 75,000 in PL account but there is no liability. there is no liability because the interest is paid. If you are paying at the beginning, then the interest will become liability. But if you are paying at the end, interest you have paid. Now here, out of this 6 lakh 10, 4 lakh 56,000 I will pay beyond 1 year. At the end of first year, total liability is 6 lakh 10. But out of this 610, 456 I will pay beyond 1 year. So 610 minus 456, which is basically 2 lakh 15 minus 61. 6 lakh 10 minus 456 is the current portion which I will pay within 1 year. The liability I will be recording in the balance sheet 6 lakh 10. But out of 6 lakh 10, 456 non-current liability and 610 minus 456 current liability. Similarly here, the liability first year 588,500, but out of 588,500, 2 lakh 15 I will pay next day within 1 year, current liability. And 3 lakh 73,500 I will pay beyond 1 year, non-current liability. Now if you are writing in the liability side whatever figure, but total is 588,500, balance sheet will tally. If you write in the liability side 6 lakh 10, balance sheet will tally. But if you are not writing this properly in current, non-current, marks will be deducted. Balance sheet tally, if you do the first question, group accounts, balance sheet mil gaya. You are dancing. The marks are not on balance sheet tallying. The marks are on adjustments. If the leasing adjustment is there in group accounts and non-current, current to be recorded separately, you are recording wrong. Even though balance sheet tallied, marks will be deducted. The leasing figure adjustments marks you will not be getting. Simple accounting principle is that whatever we pay within 1 year will be the current liability. And whatever we pay beyond 1 year will be the non-current liability. Here 5,88,500 is a liability. But 2 lakh 15 within 1 year. Balance beyond 1 year. Here 6 lakh 10 is the total liability. Out of this 4 lakh 56 beyond 1 year. You will say why not 2 lakh 15? Somebody may be thinking here why not 2 lakh 15 current? Because in 2 lakh 15, second year interest is also included. And why you will record second year interest as a liability in the first year? Accrual, this interest will become liability when the second year is over. At the end of first year, second year interest cannot become liability. You will say that why here interest is included? Here the interest is included because it is first year interest which is not paid. Not the second year interest is a liability. So here you cannot say that 2 lakh 15 is the liability. Out of 610, only the principal portion. Principal portion is 215 minus 61 or not required, shortcut. Out of 610, 456 is non-current. The balance 610 minus 456 is current liability. Interest will become liability when it is accrued but not paid. Interest cannot become liability without accrual. Here this 53,500 accrued but not paid. Here this 61,000 is not accrued. How it will become liability? या तो मैकेनिकल बने, मैकेनिकल कि भाई इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट पहले लिखना है फिर इंटरेस्ट लिखना है, या समझे कि फर्स्ट यू नीड टू ऐड इंटरेस्ट देन पेमेंट and how you will bifurcate non-current, current. The questions are there in all the exams on leasing very regularly in CIMA, in ACCA, in IFRS, in IFRS, in FR on non-current, current liability. Figures will be different in every question. There is no limit. But you need to be crystal clear that total liability need to be broken down, payable within 1 year, payable beyond 1 year. That will be the two. In asset side, there will be depreciation, no problem. But in liability side, liability need to be broken down into current and non-current. Just for the time being, anybody has any issue in understanding this breakup of current and non-current? For the time being.
सर ये समझ में तो आ गया पूरा
हाँ,
प्रॉपर,
हाँ.
लेकिन ये पॉइंट है कि जो पीएल वाला एंट्री जो मारते हैं उसमें तो कोई चेंजेस नहीं होगा, उतना तो वही होगा ना.
माने पीएल में इंटरेस्ट जो है वो यहाँ पर 53,500, यहाँ 75, वो दोनों केस फिगर अलग है. बिकॉज यहाँ पर इंटरेस्ट कम लग रहा है बिकॉज हम लोग पहले ही पेमेंट कर दिए, और यहाँ पर इंटरेस्ट ज्यादा लग रहा है बिकॉज हम लोग पेमेंट बाद में कर रहे हैं. लेकिन इंटरेस्ट का जो भी फिगर है वो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में हर साल का अपना आएगा. आपने अगर पेमेंट कर दिया तो वो लायबिलिटी में नहीं है. आपने पेमेंट अगर नहीं किया तो वो लाइबिलिटी में है। जो इंटरेस्ट का एंट्री होएगा वो तो वही होएगा ना, फाइनेंस कॉस्ट अकाउंट डेबिट क्रेडिट लीज लाइबिलिटी। अगर आपने पेमेंट कर दिया तो लीज लाइबिलिटी अकाउंट डेबिट क्रेडिट कैश। अगर आपने पेमेंट नहीं किया तो लीज लाइबिलिटी अकाउंट डेबिट तो होएगा नहीं। पेमेंट जब करेंगे तभी तो खत्म होएगा ना। तो इंटरेस्ट खर्चा पीएल में हर साल का अपना अपना आएगा। आपने पेमेंट अगर नहीं किया देन इट विल परफॉर्म पार्ट ऑफ लाइबिलिटी। आपने पेमेंट अगर कर दिया तो इट विल नॉट बी पार्ट ऑफ लाइबिलिटी। ठीक है ना। लेकिन ये लगता बहुत सिंपल है। 100 में 90 स्टूडेंट से हर क्वेश्चन में होता नहीं है। एक किए, हाँ सर समझ में आ गया, फिर फोन किया व्हाट्सअप किया समझ में आ गया, फिर गायब। मतलब ये होगा तभी जब आप 2-3 क्वेश्चन लिख के करेंगे। दिस यू अंडरस्टैंड। नॉट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट यू, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट एवरीबडी। कोई के लिए भी जनरली अगर कोई जन बहुत क्रिस्टल क्लियर है, प्रैक्टिकली बहुत काम किए हैं, मैनेज हो जाता है। लेकिन जो लोग भी इस काम में पेमेंट शेड्यूल ये सब में लोन शेड्यूल का काम नहीं किए हैं, उनसे एग्जाम में गड़बड़ हो जाता है समझने के बावजूद। सो यू विल बी गेटिंग द क्रिस्टल क्लैरिटी व्हेन यू डू सॉल्यूशंस इन योर ओन हैंड। जब आप 1-2 क्वेश्चन लिख के करेंगे तभी फीलिंग आएगा, नहीं तो जगेगा नहीं फीलिंग। और बेकाम का मार्क्स वी विल लूज इन एग्जाम।
सर हमारे ऑफिस में तो ये एक्चुअली में इसका काम होता है, तो हम एक्सेल में बना देते हैं।
बस सर सब एक्सेल में ही बनाया जाता है, क्योंकि ऐसे कोई वर्ड फाइल में बनाएगा नानी याद आ जाएगा यार। एक्सेल में फॉर्मूला ऊपर कॉलम में डाल दिया, अपने आप चुक चाक टानते हो जाता है। मान लीजिए हम लोग को नहीं आता है तो जिसको एक्सेल आता है वो फॉर्मूला बना कर दे देगा, हम लोग एक्सेल में डाल देंगे। तो आप जहां पर काम करते होंगे अगर वो ज्यादा बेटर स्ट्रक्चर्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, आपको एक्सेल में खाली फिगर एक बार यहां लिखिए, बस चकाचक अपने आप भर जाता है वो। ठीक है। तो वो तो प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ है ही यार। बिकॉज टैली के अंदर तो एक्सेल वैसे होता नहीं, एक्सेल अपने आप बनाना पड़ता है। बड़े बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का अपना ईआरपी सिस्टम होता है, तो उनमें एक्सेल का फॉर्मूला बनाना नहीं पड़ता है, अपने आप रहता है सिस्टम में। तो उनमें तो डिस्काउंट फैक्टर ये सब कुछ नहीं चाहिए, बट आप फिगर डालोगे अपने आप फिगर्स आगे का ले लेगा वो। On 1st January, Dynamic entered into a 3-year lorry lease, 10,000, 15,000 prepare। तो यहां पर ऊपर में हमने यही क्वेश्चन सॉल्व किया, बट नॉट ब्रेकिंग डाउन द लाइबिलिटी इनटू करंट नॉन करंट। अब यहां पर वो भी आ गया। तो पहले तो 3 साल का डेप्रिसिएशन, फाइनेंस कॉस्ट, इंटरेस्ट इन द बैलेंस शीट, एसेट्स वैल्यू माइनस डेप्रिसिएशन, लीज लाइबिलिटी, करंट नॉन करंट। कैसे निकाला गया? नाउ इट इज नॉर्मल। पहले आपका ओपनिंग लाइबिलिटी ये है फर्स्ट ईयर, बिकॉज यू आर पेइंग एट द एंड ऑफ द ईयर, तो इंटरेस्ट जोड़ दिया गया। फर्स्ट ईयर का पेमेंट किए, क्लोजिंग लाइबिलिटी। सेकेंड ईयर ओपनिंग, इंटरेस्ट जोड़ा, पेमेंट किया, क्लोजिंग लाइबिलिटी। नाउ यू अंडरस्टैंड फर्स्ट ईयर 23,130 is the total liability that will come in the balance sheet, but out of 23,130, 14,287 you will pay beyond second year. So 14,287 becomes non-current, and the difference between the two, which is 10,000 minus 1157, is the part of current liability. That is written here कि current liability is the difference portion and the non-current is that 14,287. Non-current is 23,130 minus 14,287. This 8,843 can be calculated as 10,000 minus interest also. 1,157 cannot be the liability first year. 1,157 is the interest of second year. That will become liability in second year if it is not paid. You take loan today, 10-year interest cannot become liability today. The interest will become liability if it is not paid, it is accrued. So 1,157 is not accrued in first year. It will accrue in second year. So 10,000 में 1,157 is interest. The balance principal portion 8,843, that is the liability portion only. आपने लोन 1 करोड़ का लिया तो बैलेंस शीट में तो 1 करोड़ दिखाना होगा, चाहे आप 10 साल बाद पे करो। तो आपका प्रिंसिपल केवल बाकी है, इंटरेस्ट नहीं बाकी है। द टोटल प्रिंसिपल 23,130, 14,287 you will pay beyond 1 year, and 8,843 you will pay within 1 year. Lease liability total, but broken down into 2 parts. The interest portion comes in PL account, whether it's accrual, advance, जो interest PL में आएगा. Depreciation will be done straight line, WDV, whatever. Assets value will be coming right to use asset, not property plant equipment. यहां पर heading लिखा हुआ है. Under property plant equipment, right to use asset will be this figure. Basically for property plant and equipment, you will make a schedule as we discussed in IAS 16. You will say right to use asset, you will say your own asset and all that, then original cost, then accumulated depreciation that way. So it is written by heading. The disclosures will be there in the notes to accounts. But यहीं पर bracket में दिखा दिया गया. One is the payment at the end. One is the payment in advance. शुरू में जो मैंने बोला, यहां पर मैंने एक बार और payment at the end, सब अलग अलग तरह से दिखे, सब सेम ही चीज है. All are just different figures. कि when you record assets under lease, they will be recorded as right to use asset, and the liability will be the lease liability. Right to use asset may be a greater figure than lease liability. There is some direct expenditures, installation, there may be some dismantling expenditures that you need to increase in the assets value. Assets will be depreciated based on whether you are going to use the entire life. If the ownership clause is there, then the lease term or life of the asset, whichever is lower. Lease liability will be settled the way you will make payment, and the lease liability will be recorded in two parts. That is non-current and current. Now it is said that, is this essential that we need to record the assets under leasing like this only? क्या ये जरूरी है? तो ये लोग बोलते हैं कि if you are taking an asset for a very short period on lease, that short period is generally maximum 12 months. आपने assets lease पे लिया लेकिन maximum 12 months. Yeah, the asset which you have taken on lease, that asset value is very low. It is a small type of furniture, it is a small type of computer, laptop, a mobile phone or anything. IFRS is not saying any asset value. They are saying low value. Low value is not defined. But they have given some examples, some small furniture, some computer, laptop or mobile phone, they have said that. Now it is based on different organization, the low value will be decided. Low value, there is no definition, $5,000, $20,000, $1,000, no value, nobody can decide. Neither written in the IFRS also. It based on conditions. We generally say that if the asset which we are taking on lease may be high value, but the lease term is maximum 12 months, short term lease. Or maybe the asset value, when a lease term is 4 or 5 years, but the asset value is very low. The asset value is very less. For Ambani's, Reliance and all that, the low value item will be decided with a different perspective. For Saraf Academy, the low value item will be decided with a different perspective. But for exam purpose, we say that if it is computer, laptop, mobile phone, small furnitures and all that, they are generally treated as low value item. Now suppose I am purchasing a second hand motor car. The second hand motor car is actually 6 years already used motor car. I am purchasing at 1 lakh. But if that type of motor car ekdam fresh, not used, then the value in the market is 8 lakh. But the second hand, that type of model car is 1 lakh. For Saraf Academy, say 1 lakh is a lower value. You will decide how, according to me, whether it is lower than, you can say 1% of assets, 1% of turnover, or maybe lower than 5% of income, something like that. We take our permutation combination to decide. But then we are saying that the low value should not be decided based on second value item goods. The second hand car value 1 lakh is not the basis for deciding whether it's a low value. That car, original car without any use, what is the value in the market, that value will be the basis for low value. So even though I am purchasing a 1 lakh car, second hand car of 6 years use, by analyzing my principles, it is coming low value, but that is not the basis. That type of car which has not have been used is value 8 lakh, and 8 lakh is not a low value for Saraf Academy. Then I cannot consider it as a low value item. The low value item will be decided based on their original cost. Maybe you are purchasing a second hand thing. And in exam, we say that if they are mentioning computer, laptop, mobile phone, some small furniture, you can consider that they want to say that it's a low value item. So either the life of the lease is less than 12 months, maybe high value item, or maybe the life of the lease is greater than 12 months, but it is a low value item. Then we don't need to follow the normal lease accounting. Recording the assets, recording the lease liability, not required. Then we don't record asset, then we don't record liability. We record the lease payment as an expense. Whatever lease payment we will be doing will be recorded as an expense. But the lease payment will be recorded as an expense on a straight line basis, on average annual basis. Means, suppose I have taken a second hand, suppose I have taken a computer and I will be paying the lease rent. It's a low value item. I will be paying lease rent 10,000, 10,000 in 3 years. 10,000, 10,000 in 3 years. Now today I taken the asset, low value item, computer, 10,000, 10,000 from today. Now in the current year, from today till 31st March, how much period is left? In the current period, say October beginning, October, November, December, January, February, March, 6 months. The total payment I will be doing for 3 years, 10, 10, 10, 30,000. 30,000 divided by 3 for every year, 10,000 for 6 months into 6 by 12. Maybe the payment every year is different, not suppose first year 10, second year 8, third year 5. What is the total payment in 3 years? 10 plus 8 plus 5 divided by 3. What is the average annual payment? And in that average annual payment, the 6 months expenditure. So if you are having a low value item or maybe a short life asset that is life less than 12 months, we don't need to follow normal lease accounting. We will not record right to use asset. We will not record lease liability. We will just record the lease rent as an expense. But it will be recorded on average annual basis. Suppose I have taken the asset today for 3 years. Now I will pay the lease rent at the end of the year, but I have taken in October. So October to March, the 6 months rent I will charge in PL and liability, because I will pay in the next year after 6 months. So suppose salary or rent or anything, you don't pay, then you record as a liability, that way it will be coming. But there is no asset, right to use asset, there is no lease liability as such. That can be applied only for short life asset and low value item. Low value item not defined. It can be computer, laptop, mobile phone, small furnitures, chair, table, whatever. Or it can be a short life asset. That is, maybe value is high but the lease term is less than 12 months. We don't need to follow normal lease accounting. We don't record asset, we don't record lease liability. We just consider lease rent as an expense on average annual basis. That is applicable for short life and low value item. Example. Oh, this example is different, I think. 1 second, this is different. I have given one example on low value item also. Suppose not given here. Suppose we go here. Study text. Leasing. 265. Around 290. Leases. Low value item. Just a solved example. See. On 1st April 2016, T acquires telephone for its sale force under a 2-year lease agreement. The terms of the lease agreement requires an initial payment of 2,000, followed by 2 payments of 8,000 each on March 17, March 18. First year 2,000, then 8. So the impact of this lease arrangement on the financial statement. Now since this is written telephone And normally IFRS suggests tablets, a small phone, telephone, computers, small items of furnitures. They can be treated as a small value item. So if these types of items words are written in the exam, we can say that we will not follow the normal loose accounting. IFRS 16 lease permits a simplified treatment of assets with a lease period of 12 months or less. Although the standard does not give any numerical value, low value ke liye, it does give examples of the type of assets. So those types of assets we will consider low value. And this includes telephone. The simplified treatment is applied. The simplified treatment you will pay in 3 years, 288 total. Sorry, 3 years or 2 years. 2 years. You are paying in advance. First you pay 2,000. Then at the end, beginning of every year, 8,000, 8,000. Total in 2 years. Per year is 9,000. Now in the current year, you have taken on 1st April, year ending is December. So in the current year, out of 9,000, 9 months expenditure is 6,750. But you have not paid this. You will pay this after 3 months in the next year. So 6,750 will be in the PL account. 6,750 will be the liability. Now in the next year, the total 9,000 will be the expenditure. 3 months and 9 months. But in the next year, you will pay only 9. So next year, the total 6,750 plus 9,000. But you paid only 9. So still 6,750 will remain as liability. So every time it will go. No, sorry. We have paid 2,000 only at the beginning. The expense in the period 6,750. But we have paid 2,000. So 4,750 will be the liability. Next year again 9,000 will be the expense. But you are not paying next year. You will pay next year ke baad. So there will be 4,750 plus 9,000 total liability. You pay 9,000. The balance 4,750 will be there. Actually यहाँ पर 3 महीना 9 महीना का हिसाब होएगा. Not 9. 3 months, 9 months, 3 months, 9 months it will go. But here we are not calculating any present value. We are not recording any non-current asset. We are not recording lease liability, present value term, nothing. You will follow, you will deviate from the normal lease accounting principle if it is a low value item or if it is a short life asset, short lease life, less than 12 months or low value item. For exam and practical life also, remember these small items. They are treated as low value. Tablets, small computers, telephone and small items of furniture. And they have written, if you are taking something as a second hand item, like a car, you will not consider low value because second hand car value is very low. You will consider the value based on total value original car, not the second hand value. So normally the car will not be considered as a low value item. The low value items are this only. You will say that why the accounting is saying like this. वो लोग बोल रहे हैं इतना झमेला करना, assets लिखना, then liability लिखना. What is the purpose in a low value item? ऐसे भी तो depreciate होके खत्म होना है. Record it whatever the expense. Earlier there was a concept operating lease, finance lease. When IAS 17 was there. That time IAS 17 was there 2-3 years back. But then IFRS, Ind AS launched IFRS 16 and all that. Then they said no operating finance lease. It's just lease. All lease assets need to be recorded by lease. But they incorporated low value or short life asset. Those can still be recorded like operating lease earlier. That they will be recorded only as an expense, no asset, no liability, nothing. In exam, whether you are CMA, ACCA, any exam, you need to remember these example of assets which they are saying. Tablets, small personal computers, telephone and small items of furniture. Because sometimes they don't mention and we need to write the answer like that these are the low value items. And we can deviate from the normal lease accounting. We can record just the payment, just the accrual of the expense as an expense. That we can see. That is called as low value or short life assets. And oblique or. दोनों ही हो सकता है. And भी और भी. This sale and lease back we will be doing in the next class. This sale and lease back will take around half an hour, 40 minutes. We don't have that much time. So we will be doing in the next class. Next class we have extra class on Thursday. Thursday morning again we have class and on Friday. This Thursday we have extra class. I will be giving you the class link. On Thursday we have extra class and then Friday normal class is there. Okay. So we will be taking one extra class this week on Thursday. Okay? Leaving for today, bhai.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you.